You're listening to Boobies and Noobies, brought to you by the Frolic Podcast Network. Today's podcast is sponsored by Best Women's Erotica of the Year, Volume 5, edited by Rachel Kramer Bussell, published by Cleus Press. This anthology's theme is outrageous and features 21 brand new sexy erotica and erotic romance stories by authors including Sierra Simone, C.D. Reese, Sabrina Soule, Caridad Pinheiro, Bollycar Joswell, Justine Elliott, Alexa J. Day, Jane Reynaud, and more. Get ready to be swept away by the sexiest business deal ever. Break the rules in a future world where skin-on-skin contact is forbidden, and discover the art of getting off by phone sex. Yes, please. From the mermaid sex I know all of us have been missing, to historical passion, to the first Latina U.S. president finding intimacy again after becoming a widow, this book has something for every reader. From happy endings to pure lust. Best Women's Erotica of the Year, Volume 5 is available in print, ebook, and audiobook, and is on sale now wherever books are sold. Special thanks to Rachel Kramer Bussell for sending me my own copy. I cannot wait to read it. Find out more at bweoftheyear.com. And now, on with the show. Welcome to Boobies and Noobies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today I'm joined by actor, friend, and Boobies and Noobies unofficial fan favorite guest. Please welcome back to the podcast, Nathan Brown.
Hi. I didn't know I was the unofficial favorite. That's very sweet.
I mean, I think it's official at this point that you have appeared in more episodes of Boobies and Noobies than any other guest. Oh, no, you know what? I think you're tied. I think you're tied with Serena because she and I also read a, trilogy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's good company.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if I could get the two of you on together, I feel like that'd be pretty great, too.
Oh, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm always around.
Yeah. I know. That's what I love about you. You're always down, always around. I mean, and it's become somewhat of a tradition now. Like, obviously, you're not as newbie as some of our newbies.
Yeah.
But it's become somewhat of a tradition to invite people back who are reading a series. So we read the series together. And
absolutely.
This is our third and final book in beloved Robin Bielman's series. I'm making it sound like she's dying.
I know. Well, I mean, it's been the year of endings, right? Like Toy Story 4, Avengers Endgame, Episode 9.
Will those ever end, though? I don't think any of those.
They all had, an ending component. Like, the end of Toy Story 4 was, surprisingly, oh, no.
Watch Toy Story 5 be, the prequel to Toy Story.
Yeah, it's all, when they're kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Smallville.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
I would totally watch it.
I watched, Baby Looney Tunes for many years, so...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
God, I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of all the other things I've seen. Well, the whole Star Wars thing is always baffling to me because it goes in so many different orders.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still, to this day, don't understand, what movie goes where.
They're now they've renamed them all, now that Disney owns them.
Okay.
They've renamed now they're not all, only the first 3 are episodes now.
Oh.
To, kind of seclude them, because, the greater population thinks of them as, not as good as 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9. So, episodes 1 through 3 are the ones with, Hayden Christensen.
Okay, yep, I remember seeing those.
Those came out, when we were, younger. And then 4, 5, and 6 came out, when our parents were younger.
Those are the OGs.
Yes.
Yeah,
and then 7, 8, 9 are the ones that came out in the last, 4 or 5 years.
Okay, and then haven't there also been other ones in the last few years? I haven't seen them all, but, ones where it was, kind of the origin stories for, specific characters and everything.
Yeah, that's what they're going to start doing.
Okay.
I think that there's so much. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. From the standpoint of an actor, I was I would love to be in the Marvel universe.
Sure.
I'm not against it, but I almost would rather be in the Star Wars universe because there's a lot more room to grow. If you're going to play a character, it's if I'm going to play, Drew in this book, right?
Yeah.
There are a bunch of people who've read it already. They have an idea what Drew looks like. Mm-hmm. So when they cast me, they're going to be people that think it's great, and there are going to be people that think it's awful. It's when they cast Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, everyone was she doesn't have big enough boobs or whatever. Like,
she's perfection.
She is perfection.
Gal,
if you're listening.
I don't know who would ever diss her.
Oh, like, people they went crazy. They were like, God. She's not busty enough. She's not gonna. I was like, she just trained like Israeli special forces, but whatever.
Yeah, sure, she can only beat anyone's ass.
Exactly, seriously.
Barehanded.
I'm worried for those stunt trainers for sure.
Oh my God.
But I mean, if you get cast as a character that doesn't exist in like in a universe like Star Wars,
right.
You can do whatever you want. Like when they cast. John Boyega or Daisy Ridley as any of those characters. There was no Rey and Finn before that. So.
Right, so they get to, originate all the history, everything associated with that character. Yeah, no, that is cool.
Started right off in nerddom. Sorry.
Oh, no, I mean, I always expect it. I'm like, okay, here are the topics we're going to discuss when Nathan's on an episode. We're at least going to mention some sort of nerdy fandom. Whether it's Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. It's going to be something. Then we're going to talk about him and his grandma at some point. I have
so many things to say about
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love hearing stories about you and your grandma because she sounds like a boss.
She is a boss.
Yeah, and this book, this whole series, the matriarch of this family is this badass granny. I'm just
I feel like she is the thread that ties the books together.
Yeah.
In a way that because there's of course there's Finn and there's, oh my God, I forgot my middle one's name.
It's Finn.
Drew is this one. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Robin Bielman.
We have to find it.
Because I was in love with Pascal. Ethan, thank you.
Yes. Rosemary is the linchpin. She's what holds everything together.
Because I think that even though you have the three brothers and you have the two brothers that have made appearances in every book, every time it's about one brother, the other two brothers show up, I think it's still the grandma, Rosemary, is kind of the heart that keeps them all together.
Yeah, I love a good meddling parent. And we meet the mom as well, earlier on. Yeah. But I feel like she doesn't play as much of a role as Rosemary does.
No, and I think... And this is the first time, I think with Drew's, this is the first time we really hear about the dad, too. Because he talks about feeling like he needed to prove himself to the dad or something along those lines. And I remember the dad being very absent from the stories. From at least when I remember the female matriarchal characters more.
Same. And maybe their dad was in it and I just don't remember it either. But... the mom and the grandma for sure stood out, at least.
Powerful woman.
Yeah, which is the same with the heroines. Okay, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves because, if anybody has missed our previous episodes in this series, they're like, who are these people that you're talking about? So let me back it up and say that today's reading, we will be discussing the book Hot Shot by Robin Bielman. And this was published just yesterday as of today's episode release.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
And this also marks our first book review for 2020 for season 3. We had an episode last week, which was more of a sexy spotlight episode where we kind of introed things to expect this year, what's changed on the format. But this is the first book for this year's review. And I have to say, I'm very pleased that this was the one we kicked things off with. So you can find this book on Amazon for $3.99 Kindle edition. It's also the third and final book tier in the American Royalty series. And as I mentioned, Nathan and I did previously review books 1 and 2 in the series. Thank you to Robin Bielman and the people from Tool Publishing who have been so sweet enough to give us advanced readers copies of all 3 books. So thank you for that. And oh my gosh, speaking of thank yous.
Yes.
Oh my God. Nathan came over to my apartment tonight to record this podcast. And we're talking about, all things that we love about this book and Robin Bielman. And he says, did you see that she thanked us in the book? And I said, what?
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to cry on the inside when I read the acknowledgments because she did in fact thank us by name and everything.
I know.
I think I can just end the podcast now.
She could have just been thank you, Boobies and Noobies podcast.
Right.
But the fact that she thanked us by name and lets us a little something in there,
I know.
It was so sweet. Not unnecessary makes it sound like it's not important, but it was totally not expected.
For sure.
Very, very sweet that she
I don't do this to, get acknowledged in books, but now that I have, I'm like, wow, how am I going to top this?
Robin Bielman just set the friggin' bar.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, I guess this is it. This is, the last step. It has to be because I don't think it gets better than this. But thank you, Robin Bielman. Thank you. We love these books. I I know that she's located in Southern California somewhere. Yeah. Not to sound too much like a stalker. It is in her, like, you know, author bio.
Her address is... No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I'm just kidding.
But, Robin, if you're listening, I hope you are. If you are ever in the Glendale, East LA area, please holler at us. Yes. We will buy you a coffee.
Absolutely.
I think we would love to just give you a hug.
Yes, absolutely. As far as, like, the first romance novels I could have read, these are, like, right up my alley in a really, like, almost not uncomfortable way, but, like, in a... I definitely have fallen in love with a couple of the characters, and that's, you know...
Oh, yeah, we know. We know. Yeah, because if anybody listened to the previous episodes, we know that Nathan is crushing hard on Pascal, one of the previous, you know, leading characters. So... Oh, gosh. Well, and you know what? At the end of this one, I'll ask you, so be prepared. I'll ask you about, like, your favorite amongst the three as far as, like, books go and as far as the male heroes go and the female heroes go.
Okay. Cool, cool.
Which is a tough call because they're all lovely. I think we're a little biased, too, because it takes place in LA. So I do get a kick out of reading books where they mention, like, specific locations and everything.
I think that's what's exciting, like, for us and anyone who's from the Bay Area watching, like, a Pixar movie. Yeah. Where you're, like in Inside Out, where they move into, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've been on that street.
Yeah, you're like, I've gotten in that pizza place right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's the same thing. I think anytime you know there's, like, an air of familiarity to an audience member, you're like, oh, I've been there. You know?
For sure. I know. Well, I feel like so many movies have been made in the last few years that take place in Oakland.
Yes.
And specifically Oakland, California, just for anybody that's listening outside of, you know, the Bay Area.
Go watch Blind Spotting.
Yeah. But I mean, and I've just been like, ooh, putting the highlight on Oakland, loving it. So yeah, we just need to, you know, move it into Alameda now.
Emilio, get on that.
Yeah, come on. Shout out to our friend Emilio. Yeah. Currently filming season 2 of The Society. Yeah. I'm so excited. I loved season 1 too.
The short film is coming out soon too, I think. So,
God, talented people.
Keep an eye out for that talented guy.
Oh, love him. Gotta love him. But okay, anyway, so before we dive into Hot Shot, I guess my question for you, I like to ask my returning guests, since you guys are like newbie-ish.
Yes.
Is, you know, since our last read of Robin Bielman, have you read any other romance novels?
I have not. I know, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't enjoy them. Every time that you give me one of these books, I always look at it and go, okay, because I typically read books like before bed, or, you know, if I've got a free hour here or there, I usually have a book with me in my bag, or I'll leave one in my car or something.
Same.
So it's just kind of wherever I can get in a read, but a lot of times, you know, life. So every time you hand me a book and say you got to read this whole book before we meet next time, I'm always like, God damn, that's a lot of reading to do. Yeah. And then I just breeze through them. So it's like, I think part of that is, you know, to speak to Robin Bielman's writing style for sure.
Oh, for sure. Because not every romance novel is like a smooth read like these are.
It flows, and I find that, like, I really do fall in love with each one of her characters. You know, like I said, sometimes unhealthily so, but I think that I'm always interested to know more. I think that I tend to gravitate towards very, like, dark, sad content because something's wrong with me. But I think that, like, it's really nice to read something that isn't without stakes, but is something that is just enjoyable to read and doesn't feel like something that's going to absolutely destroy me. You know, when I read, like...
Well, and it's not to say that there isn't, because one of my notes about this one was, I was like, I feel like there's more... There's, like, both the characters in this book are much more guarded and, like, have a lot more baggage than, like, some of the other characters in the previous books. So I was like, it definitely has its moments. I won't say dark moments, but there's definitely,
the boat scene, for sure, where he talks about what happened to him. Like, because I think with Finn, I liked that it was an interesting dilemma for him. It was something that, like, I didn't anticipate. Like, it being dyslexia was a big thing that I was like, oh wow, like that's not what I would have thought would have been the obstacle. And then for Ethan,
theirs was like a second chance romance. Yes, so it was like him having to face
prove to her that he's not 19 anymore. All
right,
that stuff.
Exactly.
But this was like a legit traumatic, you know, like thing. And I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, but
we'll spoil it in a few minutes.
Oh, okay. But yeah, like his was a legit, I think, much more like, oh yeah, of course. Like I understand why you'd be a little bit guarded and give up on things that you love.
For sure. Like, he definitely is much more defensive than, the other two brothers in this family. Yeah. So, but understandably so, and Alejandra, our female protagonist, has, clearly got some stuff going on as well with sort of her kind of ex-boyfriend. But, yeah,
that was also a really complex thing, too, I think.
Yeah.
The relationships are not always as nicely over and done with as we'd like. I think a lot of us have, the repeat offenders where we are like, no, we're done. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh, it's you again.
Absolutely.
And, I think.
Yeah, these books are nothing if not very, like, contemporary, like very 2020. These are real people, which is what I really like about them. They all have their issues. It's not forced. It's not like she's trying to create conflict.
Yes.
It's just conflict coming from, like, natural parts of their characters, of what's going on with them. So
I think it speaks a lot to Robin Bielman's imagination, because she's, just from reading her bio, she's married to her high school sweetheart, and seems like I'm sure there's been bumps and stuff, but lives a relatively, what I would imagine is, lovely, happy life. So to be able to think of these very motivated plots and stories that seem very, like, coming from a real place, that just speaks to her imagination, I think, as a writer. And
agreed. Let me give everyone the brief synopsis for Hot Shot, and then we'll dive on into our review. Starting with, he believes in fate. Here's my plan. Crash through the ceiling of my family's business to become the best hotelier on the West Coast. Nothing rattles me when it comes to a challenge and hard work, but when I spot my almost one-night stand in my lobby, I'm thrown totally off my game. Alejandra is my dream girl, the one I can't forget who got away, literally. Which might explain why I blurt out to my meddlesome matchmaking grandmother, love her, that Alejandra is my date for her fast approaching and highly choreographed 80th birthday party. God, I love Rosemary. Yes. I just can't. She's been on pause. Some decisions are harder than others, but agreeing to a date with Drew isn't one of them. He's a charming and gorgeous curveball I didn't see coming, but the more time we spend together, the harder it is to remember to play it safe. I've made a promise, and even though I'm now torn, I have to honor it in order to move on from the past. Drew feels like my future, but I'm about to put everything I want in jeopardy. Yeah. That's pretty straightforward, to the point.
I mean, where else do you want to start the beginning of a relationship,
Yeah, there you go. So let's start with Alejandra, because we've gotten to know Drew. I guess that's another thing, is this is a series, and you don't necessarily have to read the books in order in the series. I think you'll maybe appreciate them a little bit more since you do know some of the recurring characters, but
there's sort of spoilers for the second one and this one. Like, they talk about Riley and they talk about like that thing, but other than that,
because the only recurring characters that we have throughout the whole series is this family, the Au Prince, or I like calling them the Au Prince, the Au Prince family. But besides them, all of the female characters are very, they come in specifically for the book, that they are like the romantic lead. We don't see them hanging around. So while we do get to further develop the male characters, we have to jump right in to the female characters in every story. And I mean, again, credit to Robin Bielman. I feel like they're so well developed, and they have so much to them, so much substance. They're not one note at all.
No.
Like, and these books are short. These are not long novels. No. I mean, this one, I think at least the print copy comes in at like 260, something like that. 280. Yeah. Including like 3 epilogues, because we love a cute little,
I would say that like Robin Bielman either has like a massive amount of life for these people in her head, or I probably like wrote down some character history or something that's just very full.
Sure. Yeah. No, they're just so well developed, and to tell a complete story for each of them. And I feel like, even though it really is about this series of brothers, I like in this book, Alejandra specifically, she's kind of the one that makes shit happen between like her and Drew. Like, she's facing this like work dilemma. He's not really in a work dilemma, but his goal is to like become like the best hotelier, you know, and she basically solves his problem too.
Yeah.
Like,
I would say she's much more the protagonist in this book than it's just from like literary standpoint. You know, like she really progresses the story in a more abruptly or more aggressively than he does.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I think that's kind of what I thought was interesting. You know, I think every time, you know, like I said, the first one, I never read a romance novel before, so I didn't know what to expect. The second one, I thought that she kind of jumps to what I thought that Chase was going to be like midway through the book. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, it switched it up.
Yeah, I enjoyed that it was a different thing. And this one, even though it's supposed to be about Drew, I felt like it actually was more about Alejandra, and I thought that was really interesting too. That it was like she had her almost hijack the book, which I thought was really, really interesting, as opposed to just obeying form again.
I mean, she, even when it comes to her and Drew's romantic relationship, is the one, he says, like, I'm going to let her make the moves. Right. Like, I'm not going to try and be too aggressive. I'm going to let her kind of take the reins. So, I mean, she's the one that pushes the romantic relationship forward as well as the overall arc. Yeah. She's cool. We like our ladies in these books. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I don't know if she measures up to Pascal quite as much.
I mean, that was...
Does anyone though, Nathan?
Can Robin Bielman just get like ink spell powers and just write her into existence?
Yeah.
That was a little like young adult nerd dumb for anyone listening.
Make life so much easier for you.
Yeah. That'd make my life a lot easier. But no, even Alejandra, like I think I appreciate all of them. But she was very cool.
No, and I like too that like in all three books we've sort of had different dynamics. Like the first book, it was Finn and Chloe, and Chloe's like the social media manager. Finn is the baseball player. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay. Second book, we've got Ethan, who owns the restaurant. Right. And then we assume, and then Pascal, who's like it's a second chance romance, right? Like they had their past fling together. Yeah. But then there's like this whole element of surprise of her basically taking in a daughter. Yeah. And having that storyline. And then in this one, you've got, darling Alejandra, who she and Drew almost had a one-night stand. They met in a bar once, and it never went anywhere. Or they got interrupted, I guess, before it could go somewhere. But she's dealing with this whole boyfriend that she's been with forever, and he flew to New Zealand for the year, and he's been working there, and so she's still kind of hanging on to the hopes of that romance, but then at the same time has this new romance opportunity, and they all have different jobs, they all have different backstories, they all have different baggage, like none of it is like the same, which I'm just like oh god, it's so good.
And I think they're done, like you said before, like with Finn and Chloe, it was more that Finn was, even when Chloe would kind of like reprimand him and to be like, no, don't hit on me like that or whatever. Yeah. Even though, in her head, she's always like, oh my God, keep hitting on me. But it was still very like, Finn would kind of tongue in cheek smile when she was like, no, I don't like you. Right. And then walk away. With Ethan and Pascal, I think it was more like, I felt like Ethan was a lot less confident in himself, but more, it was more of a big question mark. He was more, is Pascal interested? Right. Now, Pascal was a little bit more of like I would say, I don't know, firecracker. I kind of hate using that word because I feel like I'm 83 if I say firecracker.
No, I say go for it.
But yeah, that kind of thing. Where Pascal was much more like, no, this is how it's going to be. And then I feel like Alejandra and Drew, I think Drew is, even though they talk about how confident Drew is and that he always goes after what he wants, in a lot of ways when it comes to Alejandra, he is so at a loss for words. Yeah. Which is always how I feel. And I think that it's like he's feigning confidence for most of it. Yeah. I think, and he still does really confident big moves, like stalking the party with, stalking her girls' night with food and getting her like the right flower, paying attention with the right flowers that she likes, and asking her to his grandmother's birthday on their second meeting and all that stuff. He still seems a little bit more like, is this the right thing to do? Am I overstepping? And like you said, he lets Alejandra do a lot of the steering.
Well, and he's got such, I mean, I feel like this is a kind of character type you see in a lot of stories where this guy that's like maybe the usually really confident guy with women sort of thing, who's lots of hookups and everything, that he's got like deeper insecurities. Yeah. And that is the case for Drew. Although it definitely was not a story that I saw coming, this whole backstory for him that was really dark, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to spoil it for everyone listening. That poor Drew, when he was in college, and I feel like I saw that this was coming in the sense of, you know, he clearly, there's sort of an allusion to like that he has felt taken advantage of before because of the money. I mean, they're a very wealthy family. Like he mentions at one point that how many hotels they have on how many continents and countries.
It's like they own the Waldorf Astoria.
It is overwhelming. Yeah. So, I mean, the amount of money they have is crazy. But he talks about how he met this girl in college and they dated for several months and you know, he shared all sorts of things with her, including like his bank info and, you know, all this stuff.
Give up to somebody like that. Yeah.
And she scams the hell out of him. And, you know, she even like beats him up. Like her and her boyfriend.
Yeah, her boyfriend like
steal his car, beat the shit out of him. I'm just like, oh my God. And he's not only that, he's held it inside. He hasn't told anybody in his family.
Yeah, he told West or whatever, but that was it. He hasn't told Finn or Ethan or anything like that.
No. And so I'm like, oh wow, that's gotta definitely put sort of a wedge, I feel like, between you and your brothers especially, like too. So yeah, he had like a dark past that I was like, oh, I understand you, boo.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be something more like I have been like taken advantage of by a woman before. Yeah. But like I thought that's what it was going to be. Like in the sense that like, you know, maybe he wasn't into a sexual interaction and maybe someone that kind of forced themselves on him or whatever. But I think it being that, it made more sense to his specific story. Because like you said, that happens in real life. You know, people kidnap like rich kids all the time to try, or not all, hopefully not all the time, but it happens. And then, you know, they hold them at ransom or they run a long game on them. Because it's not like he's a random person. He's like a Gates or something, you know, like it's like it would be if someone was to do that to Bill Gates' kids, or even though they don't really have any of their money, or I don't know, you know, it's
the Hiltons.
American. Yeah, sure, yeah, it's like the Big or the Kardashians or something, you know, like something like that, where you could get even just what's on them alone, you could get legit money.
Yeah, no, it's hard. I mean, it's bad because it's like, you know, a lot of times we don't want to like feel sorry for like, you know, oh, poor little rich boy, sort of, you know, But now, I mean, it's Nathan and I have really gotten to know this family, and they're just such nice people that you're like, oh, you don't deserve that.
Well, I think she writes them well, where like, instead of being, you know, we talked about this before, this is what everyone hopes the rich, hot, white dude is, but so often isn't.
Right.
But it's like, as far as a guy who's like, you know, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, like womanizing or whatever.
Sure.
He seems like he's probably pretty good to, you know, every relationship there's miscommunications and stuff, but I would say that he's probably one of those guys where you're like, he's probably pretty clear and he probably is like very nice and respectful and all that stuff. You know, somehow these guys have grown up in wealth and not become absolute like monsters.
I know. Go figure.
I know. Wouldn't that be nice?
It reminds me of although I feel like that guy's more of an asshole. There's another book we read for the podcast called Faking Miss Right by Claire Kingsley. Okay. And the main character in it, he like basically has like a system with women. Like he'll be like, look,
like the dentist system.
Huh?
Like the dentist system.
Yeah. He's like, you know, you knew coming into it, like we were going to like go on this amount of dates. And his assistant, who he ends up like falling in love with, she has it down. She's like, he said to book this restaurant. That's his breakup restaurant. Or like, okay, so that means I gotta order her some. He always like, but like when he breaks up with girls, he'll like pay for them to like go on vacation. Like he'll be like, I understand this is like inconvenient for you, so like I've booked you like a trip to Maui for the weekend. So I hope that'll like make you feel better. And I'm like, okay, well, at least if you're going to be a dick and you got money, like...
you're going to, like, spend it. I mean, that's nice-ish. You know, it depends on how much he...
He was definitely colder, though, than, say, Drew was. Yes. Drew, I feel like, would say it to your face, like, here's what's going on.
He's a man who seems like he's not afraid. I think one of the things I can respect the most about men, because, like I've talked about it on the podcast before, I tend to be more suspect and more short-tempered and distrusting of just men in general, and more trusting. And usually I always say, like, a man's got to prove to me why I need to respect him. A woman has to prove to me why I shouldn't respect her. Okay. And
if only that was a philosophy that the rest of America embraced.
I like that I think that way. I don't like how I got to that conclusion, but I like that I think that way. Anyway, I think that one of the things I respect about Drew is he seems like a man who's willing to have a hard conversation.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of guys, for as macho as men want to pretend to be, are shy away from doing. You know, that's when they become like little boys just like, you know, climbing a tree to get away from, you know, having a hard conversation with a girl or something.
Yeah.
And I think that all three of them, I would say that I think also in that order, like I think Finn was probably the least willing to have that conversation, and then Ethan was somewhere in the middle, and now Drew seems like someone who would just be straightforward and kind of forthright about a breakup. If I was going to have anyone break up with me, you know, if I was dating one of these men, I would rather it be Drew, because I think Drew would just be straight up like, look, this isn't working out, and I think you're a lovely person.
I don't know. He was like quick to jump to conclusions too,
true,
which I did not. I was like listening to the breakup, and I'm like, okay, I understand why you're upset, especially considering like the baggage you're bringing into this relationship. And at the same time, I don't think Alejandra is necessarily handling this in the right way.
Right.
However, she's also inexperienced in relationships.
That's true. Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you know, where I'm like, okay, this is one of those ones. I mean, obviously it's a romance. We know it's going to work out.
Yeah.
But it was one of those fights where I'm just like, okay, this is the point in the fight where you keep talking instead of like walking away from each other.
This is when like I want to walk out of the closet and be like, stop. And they're like, who are you? And I'm like, just shut up for a minute. You listen. And then you don't.
I'm Nathan, the relationship fairy.
Yes.
You're going to listen to me, damn it.
One of you clicked your heels together 6 times. That's how you summon me. Okay? Yeah.
And while you click your heels together, I want you to take some deep breaths.
Yes.
Because after 6 breaths,
Woosah.
we're going to approach this calmly.
Sit down. I'm going to get you some champagne. Hold on.
Yeah, seriously, if everybody just took a couple deep breaths, grabbed a drink, and sat down, things would be okay.
Yes. And that makes me have hope for the human race.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, we can sometimes not in our own relationships be able to stop and say woosah, but then we'll watch a TV show or read a book and be like, if you guys just stopped yelling at each other and talked about this, you'd be fine. And it's like, well, maybe next time I'm yelling at somebody.
Like, what did I learn from this book? Yes. Well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I have to say, I really loved the sort of B stories that they each had too with, like, their work issues, I guess. Especially Alejandra's in that I love her. She works at a retirement community, and I love books that have like the feisty old people.
Yes.
Like, I swear I've been reading more and more of them, and I'm appreciating them a lot.
Because I think sometimes people that have been through the first, like, stage that we consider to be what a full life is, right? Like, the way society looks at a full life is you go to school, and then you get older, and then you get married, and you have kids, and then they kind of stop talking about what happens after that.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, because now you're a parent, and
then, like, that's why there's, like, empty nest syndrome and all this. Once you get past all that, I feel like sometimes people that would be more considered senior citizens look back and be like, look, I wasted a shit ton of time on all this stuff, and you just need to cut to the chase.
Right.
And I think,
thanks, Rosemary.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we all could use like that kind of, I mean, she's kind of a real fairy godmother.
She really is. I've seen this in a few different book series that I've read where there's like the meddling grandparent or parent
she's
that
a spirit guide.
Has their hand in everybody's romance. And, you know, even in this one, you don't believe at the beginning that she's, you know, brought these two people together. But really, she has.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Rosemary knows all.
Knows all.
Oh, gosh. And let's talk about the fact that she's turning 80. She goes bungee jumping, which I love that scene that she and Alejandra go bungee jumping. I thought that was precious.
Yes.
She throws, like, the funnest birthday party ever.
Yes.
She
does turn up.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
I was like, I want to go. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then she's like an Instagram star.
Her gram is like better than mine. Not that that's hard. If anyone looks at my Instagram, they're going to be like, well, of course it is. Look at you.
She's using hashtags.
Yes.
I mean, she is all about it. Yes. So I was like thinking too, I was like, oh my God, you know, if they made this like a movie series or like a, you know, TV limited series or something, I was like, you know, you would have to have like the Rosemary Instagram account, right?
Oh,
like,
for sure.
To like promote
like
it
Helen
and everything.
Mirren and just like,
oh my God,
as Rosemary, 100%.
Yeah. You know what? Helen Mirren too. I've seen as like the feisty. Like I think of her in like Calendar Girls.
Yes.
And I'm like, ooh, yeah, she could be fun. Yeah. I could see that.
Or I could see like Maggie Smith maybe potentially as well. You know, just not in a British accent, but like I'm sure she can pull off an American
Dame
one.
Judy.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
I'd like
There's
some Dame
so
Judy.
many like powerful older actresses.
They're just all British.
Yeah, well, I mean, Meryl Streep could probably do it too. I just feel like that's like the obvious like go-to choice that everyone goes to. But you know, there's like even like Helen Hunt maybe could like do a pretty decent job at it.
She'd be fun.
Like it would be a kind of a change of pace for what she does. But like, you know, who knows?
So we're already casting the mini-series.
I'm just trying to think of who I want to act with.
I know, right? Yeah, we gotta get which of these guys would you want to play? Would you want to be Drew, Ethan, or Finn? And please set aside the fact that you're in love with Pascal, because then I know you would just say Ethan.
I don't think I'd believably be Finn.
Okay.
I don't think I have like the right body type to be Finn.
Okay. I don't really see you as the Finn.
So I could see me being either Ethan or Drew just because I would say Ethan only without Pascal in the equation because I think it makes more sense to believe that I'd be running a restaurant versus a hotel.
You don't think you could be a hotelier?
I don't think that I have the... I don't think I look like someone who has their shit together.
Nathan, like, Robin Bielman thanked you in a book.
That's
you
right.
You clearly have your shit together.
Or I just am really good at pretending. No, I think that I think I would play Ethan just by virtue of like who, like his. I think I'd be cool. I'd always like to run a restaurant. It'd be cool just hanging out and making sure things go well. And
I could see it. Yeah, who would play your Pascal?
Oh, I don't even. I can't. I don't know.
Yeah. Pascal would play her. She would manifest.
She just manifests?
She would manifest.
This Pascal. And... She would be Pascal.
Yeah. And you would have the best romance.
Like, what movie is that where like the book comes to life and then they're in love and then she's got a term. There's some movie where it's like a doll comes to life. Isn't that a Disney movie or something?
That was the one with Tyra Banks. Where she like came to life.
And then it's like at the end, it's like, oh no, she's got to go back to being a doll.
Yeah. And then they made like another one. Like last year or the year before, like 20 years after it.
What?
Yeah, I watched a few minutes of it. It was too much. It was too much for me.
Or like even in Hook when Julia Roberts Tinkerbell becomes like full grown and she's like, I've loved you. And he's like, but I have a family.
And she's like, but really, I'm a fairy.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, you messed up here.
Yeah. You know when Hook and Life Size, the Tyra Banks movie, and Hot Shot all have things in common?
That's how you know, yeah.
Oh, God.
But I think Rosemary... I think one of the things that I find about my grandma is she's always going like, Nathan, don't be old.
Okay.
So she'll whenever I'm being like grumpy, which never happens, I'm a perfectly well-rounded human man.
Obviously. Always smiling all the time.
But whenever I'm being like, oh no, I don't think I want to do that or something, she'll be like, okay, old man. Or she'll like call me out for that, which is like is nice because I think one of the many things that has been great about having a grandmother like I have is that she keeps me young in a lot of ways. Even though she probably says that we do the same or something, but she's so like active and she's always like, aren't you just like, I've talked about this before, but she'll just like text me from like Europe. I'm like, I didn't even know you were there.
Just like, I'm out here, just roaming the streets of Venice.
Yeah. The last time there was an eruption in Hawaii, I texted her kind of freaking out because I didn't know she was in Hawaii or not.
Oh my God.
And so I was like, Grandma, please tell me that you're home. And she's like, no, we didn't go. We weren't going to go until next month or something. But it was like, it was that thing, like, I don't even know where she is at the time.
Yeah, like she could genuinely be there today. Yeah. Like, who knows?
Yeah, like, I don't know that she'd go bungee jumping, but she'd for sure be like, you should do it.
And you know what? She'd at least go with you and like be standing like on the bridge. Oh yeah,
she'd
like,
be the one that would be like, you and Jacob want to go bungee jumping? I'd be like, and she'd be like, great, that's a yes. And then it would be, we'd go do it. And yeah, like I think it's nice to have that person in your life that clearly has life experience and is able to look you in the face and be like, stop being this way. Mm-hmm. Go do it.
Enjoy it. Yeah. Well, and I love too that it's like, it's not the approach of like, you need to enjoy this because, I'm too old to do it. She's like,
it's not vicariously.
I am still going to do this. Yes. Like, you can join me or not. Yeah. Like, that's fine. Yeah. So I love Rosemary. I'm just like, I would, and even the old folks at the retirement home that Alejandra works at, I kept expecting to at some point for them to like all come together. Like Rosemary was going to like come kick it with them. Yeah. But I picture that happening after this book ends.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. She comes in and is like, we're all going on a trip. And then,
I did say I was definitely surprised with the way that they do save the retirement home. Like I kept thinking like, how are they going to get the money to like save the retirement home? Like what's it going to be? Obviously she's not going to want, any of his family to like kick in money. So I was like, okay, like how are we going to do it? And the fact that they go to an LA Galaxy, that's a soccer team, right? That's soccer?
Yes.
Okay.
Sports ball.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's like the one sport I don't really watch. Yeah, so they go to a soccer game and she's like holding up a sign that's like, you know, donate money and for the cameras. And I'm like, oh my God. And then the fact that one of the camera guys is like, oh, one of the old ladies you're with was like my first grade teacher. Yeah. It was like, oh, that's precious. Yeah. What a small little significant moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sweet. So I thought that was cool. And then I liked that Reese Witherspoon's book club is what like saves the hotel. Like not really because it's not going anywhere.
But clearly like Robin Bielman is on Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
I follow Reese's book club.
Yeah. I'm part of a book club here in LA that's like an all women's book club.
Oh,
and
cool. Can I join?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's called She Squad, but you know, come on by. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of the books we choose, we always consult Reese Witherspoon's book club. So
I've gotten my mom for the last 2 Christmases because my mom's a really big avid reader, and I've gone to Reese Witherspoon's book club to look at like different things to read over, like is this something she'd like or something like that.
Yeah, no, and she's always got good recs. So I mean, the fact that was brought up at all, I was like, oh, I would totally want to go to a hotel where like they were giving out free books for your stay. I'm like, why not? That sounds great. So, you know, if anybody out there is listening that's a hotelier, a mogul,
there you go.
Please just start getting that book club in there. Yeah. Was there anything that, you know, was maybe less of your favorite?
I wouldn't say the thing I noticed actually, and I can tell now that I've read a few romance novels, is I thought that the sexcapades were a little bit less than they were in the other 2 books.
You know, I thought that too, but at the same time, I wrote this too. I was like, you know, I didn't love Alejandra and Drew as much, and I think it's because I just found them like they have a lot of baggage.
Yeah,
and I'm just not personally attracted to that, which is so bad to say. I'm like, that's why I'm single.
No, at least someone must be, because I'm attracted to way too much baggage. So thankfully there are those that are,
It's fine. Yes. I'm just at the point in my life where I'm like, oh, can't we just all have it together? Shut up, Kelly. And, but I was like, however, when Dirty Drew comes out, I was like, damn, son, because like he eats her out on the kitchen counter. Yeah. And I was like, woo! I did not see this scene coming.
I mean, that's a fantasy of mine, so I was like, sorry, that piqued my... I'm so sorry, everybody. I totally just clapped. My bad.
Oh, God.
I was like, Drew, you're my boy. You're my boy.
Oh,
thank you.
And can we talk about how polite he was when he did it? Because he lifted her up and placed a towel underneath her so that it wouldn't be... I guess, one, too messy, but also too, like, chilly on her butt.
Yes. No, that's nice. Although I'm sure she would have been heating up in a moment's time,
Yeah, because then the other part of me was like, oh my God, where has that towel been? Yeah. Like, were you cleaning up spills with that towel, sir?
Dear. Yeah, hopefully they keep it clean.
Oh, yeah, because he doesn't cook anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But,
I felt like the other ones, at least Finn and Chloe, from what I remember, I think were more like... Then he was doing things behind me and all this stuff where I was like, you're gonna go. I know it's not as dirty as other books,
right? But... Yeah, there were definitely in this one. That was the scene that stood out to me for sure. And then I know that there's a scene where they have sex, and then after that, there was always like mention of them having sex, but it was very quick. It was like we're heating it up, and then it's like, and then we did dirty things to each other, and then like later we're laying in bed together. I'm like, oh, we just skipped over this.
Yes.
But but you know what? I wasn't like disappointed.
No.
Like I didn't find myself. That's the beauty of these books is, and I don't know what it is that Robin Bielman does that's so different from other romance novelists I read, but like you will go 160 pages before they bone and not really cry about it.
No, I think it's to do with, again, I've never read another romance novel, so I don't know how they are, but I think one of the things that gets me like so invested in it and something that, you know, attracts me to the characters is I am very much so, I gotta know the person, and I need to, for me to have a strong connection, I found through much trial and error that it can't just be about sex. And,
same.
I think that a lot of people are that way, but the foreplay, just the banter,
verbal,
it's like, who doesn't want that? I know there are people that don't, but I think that most people that read regularly enjoy a good intellect, enjoy a good mind, and sometimes it's kind of hot when you start out with someone and you're not exactly like, I kind of want to, I want to trust somebody enough that they can call me like an asshole, and I can trust that they're doing it because they love me and I'm kind of being an asshole versus trying to hurt my feelings.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we're all going to be not our best sometimes.
Yeah. Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's when you're in a relationship with someone that you trust entirely, you want to be able to have someone be like, look, you're being a jerk right now. You need to take back 10 steps. Yeah. And have you not be like, what the? But you
need to know them, and they need to know you enough to know that that's okay. Exactly. And that moment is okay. That's you need to really chill out. Yeah. And I think that's something that she does a good job building in this book, is that level of trust, where at some point, I think in each one of the books, the girl has said to the guy, you're being crazy. And then the guy said to the girl a couple of times, you're being crazy. And they both kind of trusted each other, that even though they might have had an overreaction in the beginning, they both trusted each other enough to come back and go, okay, I was kind of being crazy. Yeah, no, it is good that they recognize it, and they recognize that the partner they're with has the ability to notice this about them. Yeah. And it's not just them yelling at Megan. My roommate and I were just talking about this the other night. We were watching something, and it was we started talking about kind of dating apps and everything, and how people will reach out to you and their first message is hey baby. And I'm just that's an instant turn off. I'm however, if we got to know each other and it progressed to something where somebody's saying, hey baby, I'm ooh, okay. This is, we can take that step, but it's if you jump into that at the beginning, not so much.
Yeah. I think coming from the other side of the fence too, because I am on the apps, and I find that hey, how are you? Or how's your night? does not also work well at all.
No.
And I don't even know where to begin.
I know.
Because I try to be okay, what can I shouldn't be too forward.
It's so funny because it's it's the same way we review these books, is everyone has their own preference. Exactly. Some people, when I quit the apps, I was I'm done. I'm
just about there. Huh? I'm just about there, probably.
Yeah, no, I say that now, but then in a month, we'll both be well, we're back on Tinder. On I know when I'm on the apps, I prefer if somebody's first message to me is clearly a reflection of the fact that they read my profile. Yeah. If I say something silly about my dog, and it's they say something about the dog, but if I get a message that's just hi, hey. Yeah. I'm
That's why I think I of all of the dating apps, although I've only tried 3, the main 3, I think Hinge is the most successful.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Your Jason Burke, has also been on here before.
Yeah, his girlfriend. He met his girlfriend on Hinge.
Yeah, he recommended, before they started dating even, he recommended that to me. And I was okay, because, I wasn't really ready to try anyway. Right. But I appreciate that Hinge is very, writing based. Yeah. It can be. Whereas Bumble and Tinder now have the option to write things, but on Hinge you have the opportunity to like what they wrote. And I like that.
It feels more it feels more chill. It feels a lot less pressure to be we have to match and then you message me. It's more of it feels a lot more like Facebook in a way, where it's just you leave a comment or something, And
I feel bad. I don't know. It feels not wrong, but it feels strange to like somebody just because of the pictures. Yeah. And I think that it's nice to read something and go, oh, that's something that's intriguing to me. Right. Or, oh, that's hot.
We just need to invent a dating app, but a good one that's not, and I'm not even going to say it's oh, do one without the pictures, because I still want to see pictures of people.
I think the thing we don't like to talk about a lot in society right now is the fact that appearance matters, and not from a shallow point, but you everyone wants to be physically attracted to the person they're with, for sure.
In fact, Drew mentions that in this book. He mentions at one point, and I thought that was interesting the way that she laid it out too, but I was this, I think it's fair, is he says this girl ticks all my boxes. Yes. And box number 1 is attractive. Yes. And he's I know it sounds, he's don't, I know people are going to say it's shallow, and I'm people will say it's shallow, but he makes a good point. It's well, of course you have to be attracted to the person you're with. Now, again, my attraction to somebody is going to be very different than somebody else's attraction, you know? And then it was like about sex. He's like, I want someone who's going to be like a little adventurous or like want to try things with me and like be open with me. Yeah. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. He wanted somebody smart with like intellect and witty and everything. Yeah. I was like, this is a good list.
Yeah. Like if you're going to, I mean, the thing is like, if we're going to stick to the depth thing, in order to get to the depth, you got to get through the shallow. So it's like in everything that there's going to be a little bit of, we're all a little bit quote unquote shallow. And I feel like it gets a bad rap because there's so, especially in this city, anyone living in Southern California, there's so much of only shallow. But it's like, you know, you do have to, some people are completely, I can't remember what it's called because I'm dumb, but some people, when they're only attracted to someone's intellect, there's a word for it.
Oh my God. No. That's totally a thing because I swear.
Is it sapiosexual?
Yeah, I think so. Because I just remember, there was like a celebrity that like got all this shit because they put that like in their profile or something. I remember this just like a few months ago. They talked about it on My Worst Date, but it was some celebrity who had said like, oh, I'm sapiosexual. Yes. And then they were giving him all this shit about it.
Yeah. It's sapiosexual.
Yeah.
And I think that like, and that doesn't mean you have to be exclusively attracted to intelligence, but I would say I tend to lean more sapiosexual. Sure. But I definitely have to find somebody physically attractive. So I like that she wrote that in there because I think that's how a lot of people feel. I think not just men, but I think
not
also
just
women.
Men. No, absolutely. Because I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? I think this is like, it's like the list that if somebody was like asking you, like, put these things in order of like what you're looking for in a partner. I feel like if people were together, they wouldn't put them in that order because they're like, I don't want people to think I'm shallow. Right. Yeah. But I'm like, no, I think that's a pretty accurate list, honestly. Yeah, so, absolutely. You know, I totally agree with it. But I love it. I love Drew. I love Alejandra. They do have baggage. But I think in the end, I think they're good for each other. Like, I'm looking at it as like, I wouldn't date, I think, either of you. At least I wouldn't date this current version of you. Yeah. But I understand why you guys work together. Yeah. So before I'm going to ask you about, you know, your preferences in the books. But let's finish up our little chat about the sexiness. And do you have a sexcerpt that you'd like to share?
Yeah, but it's probably not sexy at all.
You always pick the best moments, Nathan.
Not really. Love them. I picked the like, and then he did something nice.
That's okay. We were talking about it before we started recording, but Nathan and I were like, oh, there's that scene where he bandages her blister.
Yeah. I was like, that's so sweet.
That is sweet. That is like one of the sexiest scenes in the book. And it's not even sexy. It's just like, it's always the same thing I think about is like if you're sick and like somebody like takes care of you. Yeah. I'm like, oh.
Or I think like there's something attractive obviously about knowing someone can take care of you, but I think there's something really sexy about someone being able to quiet your protesting in a safe and trusting way. Like
okay, I like that.
Like if you have okay, like, as much as I take some issue with, like, Beauty and the Beast because he, like, locks her in a cage and, like, kind of abuses her.
You know.
But there's that thing where, like, it's like he has, like, the hurt paw or something, doesn't he, in the book?
And then she, like, takes care of him.
And he's kind of growling at her, but it's like he's already falling in love with her. Right. There's something very sweet about, like, if you maybe would have reacted initially to something and someone goes, just hold on. There's something, like, really sexy about something.
Especially if there's, like, nothing that they're looking for, like, in return.
Yeah, they're just doing it because they love you.
I love that scene, too. I feel like that's a scene in, like, a lot of my favorite romance novels is, like, the moment. And sometimes, like, the scene where he, like, gives her head on the counter and everything, you know, he's like, this is very much about you. I'm apologizing by doing this. Yeah. But so sometimes it's with sex.
The chapter's called The Sexy Apology or something, right? The Sexy Something.
Yeah, sometimes it's with sex, and then other times it's scenes like that where it's like, I'm just here to like help you take care. Like I'm not looking for something in return, and I'm like that's really cool. It's the same with how Alejandra spends time with Rosemary outside of being with. I was going to say Finn. The other one, Drew. Yes. Because I'm like, oh, that's a sign of somebody who also is like invested in this relationship is you're getting to know their family. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's very sweet too. Like that would be a moment where it's like if I was into women and I knew Alejandra, I was like hanging out with my grandma. I'd be like, she's the one.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'd always like to, in a perfect situation, I think everybody like one day, you know, when my brother is dating somebody again, and you know, if I ever date anybody ever again, it'd be cool if, like, I would love to just, like, walk into a room, like, me and Jacob walk into a room, and they're genuinely talking and enjoying each other's company.
Yeah.
Like, that would be really sweet. I know it doesn't always work out that way. I mean, like, rarely does it, I think, because people can obviously be different, but, or, like, yeah, like, I walk into a room, and my grandma and she are talking, or my mom and she are talking. There's something about, I think, the stamp of approval from.
Well, you just have to wait for Pascal to manifest.
Pascal, come and find me.
Okay. Do you have a scene?
I think so, yes.
Okay. I have one too.
Okay, I'm going to let you go first because yours is going to be better.
Mine is going to be actually hot.
Yeah.
Okay, so I for sure chose the chapter 13 titled Sexy Sorry.
There it is.
Where he eats her out on the counter.
Yes.
So I'm trying to think where to start this because it's great. I mean, the dialogue gets really raunchy quickly. So, like, let's see. She's on the counter. Let's get some dialogue in here. Here we go. Drew, she whispers, please stop looking and start doing. Are you wet for me already, Alejandra? Her eyes widen. Interesting. I grab the thick dish towel that's within reach and slide it under her bottom so she's more comfortable. Such a gentleman. Are you dripping with anticipation of having me lick and suck you until you come on my tongue? That was the moment where I was like, oh, whoa, here we go. All right. Lust sparkles back at me. Fall apart on my face. She squirms, grips the edge of the counter as her legs fall open. Yes. The small triangle of material covering her is pale yellow. I love that panties, by the way, are always referenced as like this small triangle. Which I don't know. It just gives me a weird visual of panties. And I'm like, is every woman wearing the same cut? Because, like, I feel like mine are more rectangular.
You know what's, like, really, that's the difference between men and women is, like, I know exactly what she's talking about. Like, not that women wouldn't, but, like, that's how I picture, because I don't have a very great familiarity with women's panties.
I mean, to each their own. But I do, and I'm like,
I mean,
are they a triangle? I just don't think of them.
Right?
Huh?
The little like triangle would be a thong, right?
I don't know. I'm just like seeing the shape.
Thong just like it's just the triangle front material, and then it's the thong part on the back?
Oh, I guess maybe.
So that's what I pictured.
So maybe that's it. Is because I'm not wearing thongs. I'm like,
I think
I'm not seeing triangles.
Super familiar with.
I also don't just think about shapes when it comes to like underwear. I'm more of a material kind of gal.
There you go.
But anyway, the small triangle of material is pale yellow. A small strip of dark curls is visible through the thin fabric. It takes all my willpower not to rip them off her and show her just how out of control I can be. Instead, I toy with the string at her hip. Oh yeah, so probably thong then.
Yeah.
Do you like to be fingered at the same time you're being tasted? Yes. One finger or two. Surprise me. Jesus, every word out of her mouth turns me on more than the last one. I love how uninhibited she is, candid, honest. I mean, I'm just going to stop because, like, I could just keep going. But I also love to, like, a few lines later, he doesn't even take her panties off of her. He just, like, slides them to the side.
Yeah, super real.
Yeah. I like that one a lot.
Not that I've ever done that, ever.
No.
Hold on, I just realized that I'm gonna change mine.
Why?
Because mine was gonna be like, mine's not even sexy. Mine was gonna
Yours
be like,
can be sweet.
And then he carried her away. I was gonna do the first time they kissed.
That's a good kiss too.
Oh yeah. I'm hot under the collar for no reason than that she's looking at me like she might kiss me. Do it. Mm-hmm. Her face alights with the gladness as if she heard my thoughts. She's running this show, so I hold my ground while she takes her sweet time inching closer. I want her to watch me until finally her long, dark lashes sweep down over her cheeks and her lips meet mine. I think I hear angels sing. The problem in my pants becomes a bigger issue, pun intended. Sorry, angels. Her mouth presses against mine with the perfect amount of pressure to blow my mind. It's soft but firm, gentle but demanding. She kisses me with tenderness, care. This isn't a let's go to your bedroom and fuck kiss. This is a fairly innocent first kiss, a getting to know you kiss, which is especially sexier and more consuming because it tells me that she wants more at some point. I kiss her back. I think, like,
That's a great first kiss.
Yeah, there's for sure the realm in where like you want the, you know, depending on what you're looking for from the relationship, where you want the let's just go fuck kiss. Mm-hmm. But I think that I think generally in this city and around this age, it tends to be that kiss more for people that are casually dating. Right. And I think we all want the, you know, like I want the I forget which direction is up kiss. Because I've had those where like you kind of forget how to stand and you kind of you feel like you're kind of falling over.
And then you don't really realize it's over. Like when it's over sort of thing.
Or like you forget that you're kissing. Yeah. You know, I think the thing where you're kissing and it just like it doesn't even feel like you're actively your mind kind of goes blank and you're kind of lightheaded and like I feel like we were saying before the podcast, like this book made me miss like fighting in a relationship. Because like when there's the fights where you're really worried it might be over, which, you know, no one enjoys.
Nobody misses those.
No, but there are the fights where you guys are fighting and you kind of know it's going to be fine, but you need to get through this. And then when you're done, ideally you have a better understanding of each other and you kind of both get over yourselves and come together for a better future. And I think
it really is like we're fighting for us. Yes. Like let's fight to find. Oh, thank you.
No, really, that is beautiful.
Let's
really,
fight
really beautiful.
to find a solution for us. Like I have this point of view, you have that point of view, but like we're having this fight because we both want this to work. Yes. Like we want us to happen. Yeah. So.
And I think that, I think like this book made me miss. I think they all do. Have always made me miss relationship. A deep.
Don't get sad.
I'm not sad.
Don't get sad.
No, but like a deep, like understood relationship. Yeah. I think that. I just miss kisses like that. You know.
Yeah.
They're so nice.
I know. Oh God, Robin, you tell a good kiss.
I know. Seriously. I know. Whenever you write your next rap album sounding series, because American Royalty sounds like a fire album.
Yeah. Right. Oh man,
Jay-Z and Kanye's follow-up to Watch the Throne is for sure.
There you go.
Royalty.
There you go. I was waiting for like, from reading this book, I was like thinking, could there be more? Because like the one that I was like eyeing I was like, is West gonna have a book? I know he's not part of their family, but I was like, I would be down to read his story. I'd be kind of into that.
Yeah, and they brought up Chloe's friend again, Callie.
So one of them, but something they were like oh, I'm seeing them
Chloe's
having this connection.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So,
I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it. There you go. Next series.
Yeah. The American Duke and Duchesses.
Yeah.
Just one step below the royalty.
Right. Like we're not quite at hotelier, but like we're developing properties.
We run the like Motel 7s.
Not even. I love it. Is that a thing? There's Motel 8 and there's Motel 6. But is there a 7?
It's Super 8 and Motel 6. Wow.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But perfect. I mean, Motel 7. No copyright infringement with that one. Okay. So now having read all 3 books and, you know, obviously I'm sure some of our listeners have as well, but maybe not everyone. This is hard. I'll say, how would you rate the book? Like, I guess all 3 books, put them in order of like favorite to least favorite.
You know I'm going to say the second one's my favorite.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, because Pascal.
Yeah, I would say the second one's my favorite. And then I feel like it depends on what I liked about the books. Like, it's hard for me to put a 2 and 3 because I think one of the things that I felt, not that I did not like about this book, but what was a little bit more mirrored than I was anticipating was the fact that they had a lot of baggage. And that's how I feel. So, like, I think I was reading it being like, oh, this is probably more me than I'd like it to be. You know,
plus
like
this guy on the cover, man. I feel like
that's what, and you know, like that's, you know, with a good, like some really good surgery, that's what I could really
and some
bronzer. Yeah,
that's you.
Yeah, do you
that
remember
could
when
so
I got
be you.
Spray tanned in sophomore year of high school?
Oh God, but yeah, no, I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah, so I would say that this one was a little bit more real, for me at least, because I was like, oh, I have baggage. I mean, we all do, but I have baggage. But I liked the first one as well because I kind of like that whole, you know, I like this sort of resisting it, but you both kind of have a...
Well, and that was the only one of the three, too, where they were, like, a fresh couple. Like, they were meeting for, like, the first time. And then this one, it's not like it was, like, a second chance romance so much as, like, they had, like, this encounter and then they came back together, what was it, like, 9 months later or something like that. So, I mean, yeah.
She had to get the boot off of her foot or whatever.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have to say... I know you love Pascal, and I love her too. And I think that book, the second book, is definitely the most surprising of the three, because I felt like I was just going... it just went so much beyond my expectations of, like, where it was going. Yeah. But I was, like, such a fan of the first book, and I think it's because I felt the most connection personally with Chloe. Mm-hmm. And I was really into, like, Finn's character. Yeah. And he had the puppy and everything. And he was a baseball player.
Oh, that's right. The baseball field.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this guy's cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that one, I think I literally would go 1, 2, 3. I think, and it's not... like one's far above the other. Last thing I'm going to ask you to do, and we have changed it up a little bit. This is the first episode where we're actually going to be giving new ratings. So instead of story, syntax, and sexcapades, it's not that different. But we are going to be grading from now on for season 3, heart, humor, and heat.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of similarities between the categories. And obviously, this bitch loves alliteration. So... what can I say? But we'll start with heart. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the very best that it could be, what do you think about the heart in this story?
I'd say like a 9.
Okay. That's a generous grade.
Yeah, well, I think that's the strongest one.
Okay, I can see that for sure.
In reference to like heart, heat, and
humor,
I think that's the strongest one.
I think it is too, yeah. And I gave it an 8, so I mean we're definitely in the same ballpark. And it is my highest grade of the 3. Okay. So cool. I'm with you. How about humor?
Humor, I'd give it like a 6.
Okay.
Like it wasn't like laugh out loud funny. I found myself scoffing more, like kind of like ha. Oh, Chloe. Or, ha. Oh,
I wish everybody could see your face right now as you're scoffing. Yeah. there's a hair flip that goes with it, just so everyone knows.
My hair's really long right now. But yeah, no, I think I found myself more like, oh, you silly billies. You know, the other ones more than I did in this one. This one was very to the point. So,
yeah. In fact, I gave it a 6.5, but I found the funniest characters to be like on the periphery, like all the like old folks and Rosemary and everything. Like, and that's not to say every book has to be hilarious, but these are the things I look for in romance.
It's always, especially if you're like trying to enjoy that.
Yeah. So, and I figure most people who listen to this podcast probably read similar types of books. Yeah. So, if you're looking for like a super funny book, this isn't really it, but that's not to say it's a downer.
No, not at all.
No. And then the heat.
I would say same ballpark, pun intended. Finn. I would say like 6-ish. I think that the like I said before, I enjoyed the description when it was there, but I think that, again, there was a lot of, like you said, it was like it started and then it ended.
And then it cut, for sure. Yeah. I gave it a little higher. I gave it a 7. Because that one scene really did make up a lot for it.
That scene is a great scene. That scene is like, if someone was like, what would you like to live out? I'd be like, that scene.
And then there's one where they're like dry humping too, and she's like grinding on him. I'm like, I love a good dry hump scene personally. There you go. Yeah, because it really did. What was sweet about their romance was it's so funny that they basically jump into like living together because she needs a place to stay. Yeah. And then at the same time, she's only been with the one guy for like 7 or 8 years. And so it's kind of this sweet, like, teenage romance. But like
being like creepy.
Yeah, but like they're in their 20s. Exactly. And I'm like, I love that. I think it's so precious. Yeah. So I love that. But yeah, overall, I think the whole series is like a really fun read. All the books are pretty short as far as like romance novels go, like less than 300 pages each. Yeah.
And they really do fly by. You know, like I think it really is.
Yeah. I'd
lay down. I finished it this morning before work.
Yeah.
And I woke up like hour and a half before I need to like get ready.
Yeah.
And next thing I knew, my like Google Home was going off, being like, "It's time to you have to go get ready." And I was like, "What? No, wait, what?
I need to finish."
So
it's never a chore to read these books.
No,
and it's so funny. I don't know how this worked out, but every single one of these books I started at the airport.
Yeah, you're always like flying somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know why it's worked out that way, but so these have just become like my airport reads, and I'm so sad that I'm out of this series now, because when am I supposed to read at the airport, besides all the other
Robin, you gotta write some more stuff.
Yeah, so this has been so much fun reading this series, and it's been so much fun having you read this series with me.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's been so great.
Well, and then the important thing now, Nathan, is that now that we have finished this series, the big question is, are you going to read more romance?
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Okay.
I think, I enjoyed them more than I would have assumed I would have when you gave me the first one.
Mm-hmm.
When you gave me Hot Shot, I was like, all right. I'll read this because, like...
Who's this buff-ass guy on the cover?
Well, it's more like, Kelly's great. So, like, of course, it's worth doing it. And then I was reading and I was like, this is actually, like, pretty fucking hot.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading this, like, I'm really glad I'm reading this alone in a room. Mm-hmm. Not in public. Because otherwise I'd be like, and I have to cross my legs now. And, so, yeah, like, I think it was, it's... I get all of the jokes now in rom-coms and The Office where people are, like... reading dirty books and everyone's like, and I'm like, well, actually, I kind of get like they're kind of hot. If they're well written.
I have 3 of these at home. Like
they're all on my shelf, and people come in and go, "What are these books?" And I go, "They're romance novels."
It's the American Royalty series, if you must know.
You can pick it up on Amazon.
Exactly. I mean, no, it's for real. And what's funny too is like, I mean, I know these were new for you, but it's like I've obviously been a romance reader for years, and I feel like you get kind of, and I'm sure this is the same for any genre, you get kind of caught up in like the authors you love and the style you like, that it's hard to kind of like venture outside of that and like try new ones. And so when I read the first book in the series, I had never read Robin Bielman before. And I was like, I don't know what to expect from this. And so I'm happy to say that just from doing this, I found like an author that I've added to my list of like, okay, anytime I see a new Robin Bielman book, I know I'm going to pick that up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point.
So I'm excited, but it's always, so I mean, even after like 10 plus years of reading these, it's always exciting to find like the new gem that you didn't know about. Yeah, so thank you, Robin Bielman, for this lovely series. It's a good way to start, right, for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if someone was like, have you ever read a romance novel? I'd be like, yeah. I mean, I'm not a really like... If I do something, there's no reason for me to ever lie anyway, usually. But, like, I'd be like, yeah. I mean, when people have come over to my apartment before, and I have the most books in my apartment, because I'm a nerd and I have a lot of graphic novels.
Yeah, good.
And people will come in and be like, of all the things for them to look at, they'll kind of bypass the comics and go, is this a romance novel? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Did you read them? I'm like, do they look bent up? Yeah, of course I read them.
I made notes.
Yeah, I underlined passages, son.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's how you know it's good. You can go back to those. It's so funny. You can then open the book and it falls open to a specific page. You're like...
put it on its spine right now. It's going to be like, there it is. That night.
I bet it was that night.
Oh, what a night.
Oh, gosh. Well, Nathan, thank you once again for joining me.
Thank you so much.
And we're just going to have to find new books to read now.
Oh, darn.
Such a chore.
I know.
Thanks so much for listening. Boobies and Noobies is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts. You can follow Boobies and Noobies on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Boobies Podcast.